got two phenomenal women in the house today. We're so excited to welcome them to the show. We've got Miss Caroline Angel. Hello, how are you? Dr. Katie is in the house. These two women have really mastered not only beauty from the inside out, but really balancing and sharing their love, their light, their talent with the world. Really, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Here on Good Morning Lala Land in 2018, we wanted to know, how do you start your day? What's your morning routine? And I would love it if you would start our year by sharing a little bit of yours. Well, we have the Barefoot Angel in the house. Good morning, Caroline. How are you?
Good morning. I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me. What a great way to start the year.
Thank you. So tell us, as a Barefoot Angel, how do you start your day?
Well, it's very similar as far as the philosophy is concerned to Dr. Katie, is that it's really important to fill my cup over and be in a state of centered and balance. So before I hit the ground running, I take my time and list 3 things that I'm grateful for. Meanwhile, I meditate, and at the same time, I do some stretching yoga practice. I'm a systems person, so I combine things. And it just only takes 5 to 8 minutes, but that simple and practical routine sets me off and puts me on the right path, so I can be in a state where I can give to others. And again, it fills my cup, so I'm not giving from my cup. I'm sorry, I can fill my cup so it runneth over onto the saucer, so I can fill up other people from my saucer, not my cup.
Ooh, I like that metaphor. I've never heard that. She's also got the skinny on 50 Shades of Grey.
What was that?
Love that play on words, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Caroline Angel is in the house. 50 Shades of what? Grain?
Yes. What a great title.
The Barefoot Angel.
I want to name this book 50 Shades of Grain because there's so much gray in between. Should I eat grains? Should I not eat grains? Grains are good for you, grains are bad for you. It's not as simple as black and white.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your personal story.
My research led me to Sardinia, where I was looking for the researcher who identifies and validates blue zones. And blue zones are, there's 4 blue zones in the world. There are places in the world that house centenarians. And centenarians are clusters of people who live over 100 years of age with vitality, not just like living, but just vibrantly. Like we're talking about people in their 90s.
True health and wealth.
Wonderful sex life. You know, that's how vibrant.
That's how you measure it.
That's what you're telling me.
And you get
Wait, I'm
50
getting there.
Shades. Of
Starting to get the title now.
Exactly, right? So I get there serendipitously. I find that researcher. I was having the hardest time finding him. He happened to be there. He lives in Belgium, and he happened to be there within that 2-day window that I was there. I'm telling you, it was serendipitous. The universe just, the seas parted, everything lined up, and I met him. And incidentally, so I went there not thinking that I would find the answers to bread, but that was in my heart, right? And then also at the same time, a month before, I had gone for a checkup, and my holistic OBGYN had run these blood tests, and she recommended bioidentical hormone because she saw some levels were off. I fought her, but I said, okay, fine, I'll take in minute doses. How bad can it be? It's compounded, it's bioidentical, you know, here's a holistic OBGYN. So I was in Sardinia, second day of taking the bioidentical hormone in minute dose. 5 in the morning, I get up, I'm thousands of miles away from home. I wake up to violent pain and sweating. And it kept getting more intense and intense for 2 hours. I thought I was gonna die. I thought I was dying. I mean, I have 3 children. It was nothing compared to childbirth, you know?
Wow.
And I just knew it had to do with that. There was nothing else. So when I broke through the sweat, I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I can't take that. I have to figure out a way that does not involve anything even remotely, bioidentical. So I went back to the drawing board. I did everything like more methodically than I was before, right?
So what did you do different in these 2 weeks that made you actually feel better?
Well, you know, for instance, I took sleeping for granted, right? Before then, I would work clock, burning the midnight oil, thinking, you know, I can do it, I can push through, but we're human, you know, especially females. Our hormones are, I don't know why I looked at you.
I'm superhuman. I'm superhuman, and I believe that.
That takes a very strong masculine man.
It is so interesting though, because as women, and men, it's a human condition so often just to give to everyone around you and forget to take care of yourself first.
Yes.
And like you said at the beginning of the show, you'd rather give from an overflowing filled saucer than an empty cup.
Yes, that's what was the biggest lesson for me. Right?
So tell us a little bit more. So you did this thing for 2 weeks. You were doing it perfectly, and you were really seeing the results. And then what?
Yeah, it felt good. And then while I'm in Sardinia, I decided to ask these women who demonstrate longevity. And I'm like, okay, so how did you deal with perimenopause and menopause? And they're looking at me. Of course, there's translator there, right? They're looking at me like I'm talking like a foreign language. Oh, it's a foreign language, but like they have never heard that term. And so I was going over the symptoms with them, and again, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like when it gets hot, you know, over the summertime, I go, no, that's not what I'm talking about. You know, they have
From the inside out.
Yeah. It's so fascinating you say this because I've always thought it actually feels like, because I'm a huge advocate for cleansing and detox and stuff, and I think, well, if you didn't do that your whole life and then you got into your 40s, you would probably have some natural ways that your body's going to want to detox and cleanse you.
Right?
And I go, that's probably a lot of it, of what all those hot flashes and stuff that women go through. I'm like, it's just your body trying to naturally cleanse you.
That, and also it's speaking loud and clear, like, help,
yeah,
you know, do something
completely.
about it. Exactly. Here's these women who are not having any of the symptoms that us in America, you know, women in America are having. What's going on? And then, of course, it's a lot more than just food that makes up for how you feel, right?
Sure.
It's about lifestyle. It's about
It's about 50 shades of something.
Aaron is definitely ready to pilot that part of it, yes.
Give me that bread.
You know what's so interesting though is because I know so many women, especially American women, who, you know, over the age of 30 give up carbs completely, give up bread, and
give up sex.
Give up sex, or sabotaging themselves.
Right.
So what can we do differently? How can we embrace it? What is the secret to the 50 Shades of Grey?
Okay, so it's not, like I said, it's not one thing. There's not one panacea. It's a combination of many things. As you well know, it's about balancing the mind, body, and soul, right? Focusing a little bit more about the body, it's more than just exercising and working your butt off, right? To get that skinny, whatever shape, perfect shape that you want. It's about consuming the right foods. And it's like the micronutrients and micronutrients, right? It's right kind and amount of carbohydrates and proteins, right kind and amounts of fats and oils, right? So, and then to break it down even more, let's just go into carbohydrates, right? It's the right kind of carbohydrates. Like one of the things that I saw in the blue zones is that they don't have a diet. Like they don't follow a diet. If you ask them, what kind of diet do you follow? Is it paleo? Is
Keto.
it keto?
Oh, yeah.
Is it what, you know, they're like, what are you talking about? They just consume, they just eat, they just love, they just get together, consume food. But there's a huge difference of what they consume. The source and how it is produced, you know, following traditional wisdom and practices is the key. So that way they don't have to worry about, do I eat this much this much that? You know, they don't worry, oh, does this have gluten? Does this not have gluten? Am I eating too much carbs? No. They eat to their biochemical individuality. I went to a market, it was very, very telling. I went to a local market where there were a whole bunch of local vendors. One of the vendors was serving a pastry and candy. On the candy side, there's a whole bunch of younger people, which I suspected that there would be, right? Full of refined foods and, you know, colors and all that. On the other side of the booth was pastries, and older people were gathered around it. And I noticed, I went there, and there was one that was packaged pastry, and I was able to read, it was also translated in English, and it was ingredients that I could buy. Like, it felt comfortable, like, I was so excited. And I turned around to this older gentleman, and I'm holding it, like almost looking for his approval. And he looked at me, he shook his head. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This is amazing. And so he left, and the vendor behind the counter spoke English, and he said, that's not what he gets. He gets this pastry. It's the same thing, but it was in a slab. And I said, what's the difference? He goes, that is made here locally with local honey. You know, because the other ingredient had honey in there, not refined sugar. And I was like, oh my gosh. Even to that point where it's locally sourced, that's how local they get. You know, that's why they don't have to worry about it, you know?
They also buy their groceries like every single day. They go weeks of groceries. They go every single day for their meal.
Yeah, they go directly to the rancher or to the farmer. They do it themselves. You know, some of them shepherd.
But it makes you question also, you know, how much is it that they're just so present and part of that like lifestyle, and they sit down and they, you know,
so much.
Their culture's so different. They don't eat on the run. They don't, like, even I've noticed in certain cultures, they don't even have to-go cups. It's not even, you can't do that. Like if you go stop in and get somewhere a coffee, they only have real cups. Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
And if I'm understanding correctly, their exercise is also different in that way. It's much more intentional, mindful, and it's not about exercise as much as about just physical activity, right? So it's gardening and things of that nature.
Exactly.
You know, so it is interesting. Would you say that it's possible then? Clearly, I think it is, to make, you know, some simple changes in your life to, you know, affect greater health and greater well-being without having to change your entire lifestyle? Or
Absolutely. This is what I do. So I bring the ancient wisdom into the context of the modern world. How can we incorporate that without moving into a bubble? How do we do it without chasing the elusive mushroom to Tibet, right?
Or moving to Okinawa.
Oh, moving to Okinawa.
I love it. Well, tell us a little bit about the book, what someone can expect and how they can find you and how they can, what's the path of 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah.
You?
So, yeah, the book can be found on Amazon. It's very simple. Either they can get an ebook or paperback version, easy peasy. And in there they can find basically what are some of the things that they need to avoid if they're going to go and buy bread, because not all of us are bread makers. I'm not a baker. I tried, you know. I mean, I really tried. I'm not a baker.
Oh, we cook bread all day long around here.
Lauren and I are bakers. No. Speak the truth. I've absolutely never made bread, and I probably never
going to.
But I love it, and I don't want to sacrifice it. So I'm so grateful that you've given us a guide of the 50 Shades of Grey. You can also find her at the Barefoot Angel.
Yes, barefootangel.com. People who subscribe, they can get which fats to eat, which fats to ditch. And the other thing, for your audience, for a short time, I created some space for a free 30-minute consultation. That I offer interested. Any woman who's there, who's tried, or who hasn't tried everything, but is serious about getting their hormones into balance and finding out how to do it in a way that is simple and effective.
Love that. So they can just call you, you can tell them what to do, and they can be done.
I know a few women I'm going to sign up on their behalf. You know who you are when you walk in. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Good Morning Lala Land.
Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning Lala Land here on Wealth Wednesday. We're talking to these two beautiful women about health. And I wonder, the question I have for each of you is just, you know, if there's one tip that you have for our viewers, just around sort of starting the new year off on the right foot in terms of either health or wealth, what would you recommend?
Okay, I would say health is your wealth, right? It's very, very important. So making sure that you take care of yourself, you are in a balanced state, and so that you can take care of the other people around you, you can give. It's hard to give when you're not yourself in a balanced state. And it's not, it is very daunting, it is very difficult, because in the modern world, we're thrown off track. We're not living in an environment where it's given to us as easily when we used to live in a tribal community. So we have to seek this information, and there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there. I appreciate that. I understand the frustration. I encourage people to find their guide who understands their biochemical individuality and meets their lifestyle needs, and at the same time gives them challenge to get to the next level, and does it in a way that is practical, effective, and natural, because your body innately knows what to do, can get into balanced state if you give it the right foods and tools.
Thank you. Love that.
Well, you both are really changing the world, one body, one spirit at a time. Thank you for your time, for your life. We are Good Morning La La Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Also available on Apple TV, Roku, and Twitch.
That's right. We're waking up the world together. Please like, share, comment, and follow these extraordinary women. Have a wonderful Wealth Wednesday, and we are so excited to have this journey with you in 2019. Have a beautiful, beautiful, divine day. And may you live your truth.
It's going to be a good morning, La La Land.